Righty, tighty, lefty.
Lucy?
Yeah, I couldn't remember what it was.
Okay. All right.
Lucy changed her name. No, you don't do that. Let me help. What is this thing's name? Finnegan.
Guys, welcome back to the Point Taken podcast. This is the podcast where we make and take spiritual and biblical questions and chat it up. My name is Hunter. I'm the host of this podcast. Love to do it. Great. I heard you whispering, and I wish that you just wouldn't.
No, I was talking to Brother Andrew.
I know. I understand. One time.
We've already done it a couple times.
Just one time where we don't. No, we haven't done it where we don't.
But
one time where we don't, and then
look,
the people
we're still
will miss
in
it.
the beginning of the new season. They may not know.
What are we talking about now? I don't even know what we're talking about anymore.
To my left, as always, Pastor Josiah Shipley.
Now, the question for Pastor Saya already is, are you happy to be here?
Dude, I'm very happy to be here. Welcome shoulder, everybody.
All right, there it is.
Instead of welcome back.
There's
Now, wait a
nothing
minute.
I can do at this point.
Just pick a different...
To my right here is Andrew, built by God, child of the wolf cook.
Oh, he's wearing a wolf.
He's wearing another
I
wolf.
am wearing a wolf with no mask, but I am wearing a wolf with no mask. To chicken back off of Pastor Sai over there. Welcome eyelash, everyone.
Thank
that was
you,
part of
thank
our sermon this morning was eyelashes.
Yes,
So-
yes, it was.
It's the
Dude, I can't
podcast
believe
of
that wolf
unfunny
is so
jokes.
much better than the wolf you wore in season 1.
Yeah, that's a
This is
lot
for
better.
homecoming. Oh, well, not this year. This is 2000 something or another.
Although it says
2020.
It says wolves and there's only one. I mean, that's
Yeah,
a
that is
misuse of the
one wolf.
plural form of the...
So we're starting off season 2 making fun of me again.
No,
It looks
no,
like,
no,
it looks
no,
like
no.
it's
Just
going for a
grammar.
kiss.
No, that's a bad angle for it. I mean, it'd have to be way
It'd
taller.
be a much taller wolf.
Yeah, right.
So that's
Right.
the
I would almost say it's
That's
a
the female
were wolf because we don't know where the wolf's trying to go.
Nice. That was good. Werewolf. Get it? Okay.
I liked that. And last but not least, guys, we cannot forget Finnegan.
What's up, Finnegan?
What's up, Finnegan?
Sporting Hour,
Yeah.
new and improved.
Apparel. Guys, if you go to Witten Baptist Church, swing on by. Order yourself a Point Taken podcast t-shirt, short and long sleeve. They are all in black. And it's the same symbol. That's your option. And if you don't like it, you don't get it.
Why
No,
did you
but people
pause
love
so
him. I
long?
mean, Finnegan lost his head over it.
All right.
And his pants.
He gets offended at that.
The pants?
No,
I'm
the head
sorry,
thing.
Finnegan.
The head
Okay.
thing. He's very insecure about
He was
that.
so excited his pants literally just fell off. Like,
We weren't going to mention the fact that he didn't. We
Did
didn't.
Why?
did he pay for that shirt?
well, yeah.
It's Finnegan, man.
He didn't pay for his
All right.
pants, but he did pay for the
All
shirt.
right.
Who's going to hire him? He doesn't have. All right, sorry, I almost said it. He can't get hired. He doesn't have a job.
He's too.
We know he's
His
sensitive
arm is
about
in the
that.
most unnatural position.
That's all he. That's all he can do. His arm goes up to here, and his other
I
arm
don't
goes
know
up
it's
to
a
here.
he.
Oh, you know it's a
His
he.
name's Finnegan. I don't know.
Yeah.
There
Don't
once was a
look.
man named Michael Finnegan. He had whiskers on his chin
Finnegan.
again. The wind
That's the
blew him
one.
off. Yeah. All right.
That's the one. Don't look. Stop it.
What?
Grow up. All right. So our topic today, guys. Our topic today is abortion.
Wonderful.
Awesome topic. Can't wait to get into it. You guys ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Yeah, let's go.
We're ready. Okay, guys. So let's talk about, first and foremost, believe in defining our terms here. So for that one person who's listening who says, KS abortion,
Right.
what's abortion?
All right.
All right.
Abortion is the terminating of a pregnancy by the ending of the life of the fetus of the child that is in the womb.
Okay. So, yeah.
The purposeful, the intentional killing of the child in the womb to terminate the pregnancy.
If you consider it a child.
Or a life.
Right.
If you consider it life. Yeah.
Right. So it's like very pro-life definition, which is what I expect because I feel like we all would have that definition. So hold
Yeah,
on.
absolutely.
So could we? Yeah, go ahead.
Oh.
Explain
Hey,
these.
everybody, guess what? I'll do it.
Okay.
Hey, everybody, guess what? It's now Hector time.
Brother Andrew, in case someone's new to this, can you tell everyone who Hector is?
So when we put on the hats, we are embodying the spirit of Hector. Hector is the heckler, if you will. He is the guy that stands outside of your house at 3 o'clock in the morning saying, "You're wrong!
And he throws
you
rocks."
need to sit down and stop speaking your truth because your truth is not true."
So we all have a hat, and if ever anyone is wearing the hat, that means they're giving the antithetical view on purpose.
And of course,
And
we
if you don't
will
know
be
what
mentioning.
antithetical means, that means opposite.
Nice.
Wow, dude.
Nice, man.
It's like I'm not surprised that
The
you
wolf
know it,
whispered
but
it in
like
his ear.
that's what it was.
Yeah.
He went, "It means the opposite for people who don't know what that means." Welcome to the
I don't like when he does that
I
thing.
don't like it.
All right, so Hector has a point to make.
Yeah, and we'll be announcing when we put on the hats, but yeah. So abortion, the way I would define abortion is it is the. I'm really wanting to get it super Hectory.
Well, then do it.
I'm trying. Hold on. Let me think. My thesaurus is failing. It is the termination of a pregnancy. The end.
Intentional or unintentional, Hector? Because then you're saying a miscarriage.
Oh, no, because
So the intentional-
termination is implied intention.
It's absolutely not, but I will...
I disagree. Hold on. I disagree.
Wait, actually, Hunter disagrees.
Yeah,
Okay,
termination is implied intention.
Okay, fine.
I mean, right?
No.
The Terminator didn't accidentally go after Sarah Connor.
Are you about to use Arnold Schwarzenegger and you're going to pull him into this?
Absolutely. Dude, he showed up for Sarah Connor and he said, "I'm going to terminate you." And first
Terminate?
And first
What,
of
do
all,
you have a mug?
if I were to go up to one of my people and say, "You're fired," which I can't do, but let's say that I could, and I say, "You're fired, I'm terminating you." I didn't accidentally fire them. I intentionally fired them. I mean, let me hear your argument on that real quick.
Wait a minute. Okay.
Right?
No. Well, I'm gonna say this. What if? Because what ifs are what we do here.
That's what it's about.
What if
I'm prepared to take your point.
terminate? So I'm gonna terminate this pregnancy.
Okay.
You have the mother's life and the baby's life
Sure.
are in balance.
Okay.
If I terminate the life of the mother, the baby lives. If I terminate the life of the baby, the mother lives.
Okay.
Using that line of logic, that's not willful. That's a life, like one of the two of them will die
I
regardless.
see, I see his point.
So you said, "I am going to terminate this."
All right.
Right? So that to me spells intention. Whether or not you're meaning like I am going to kill this other person.
But-
It's like I'm going to, one or the other I'm going to do. It doesn't have to be evil. I'm just talking technical.
But I'm saying that is. You're the one that gave me the hat. I'm just going with it.
The way you looked at it.
Oh, I did want to. I talked to a lot of people that said they just like to listen. So I'll announce, or you announce.
He is wearing Hector.
Andrew is wearing the Hector hat.
I'm
Go
wearing a
ahead.
Hector.
Yeah.
But the definition that was said before is the willful termination or the willful killing of a embryo.
Right. That was
in the
the
womb.
pro-life.
But I'm saying that abortion can be okay if the mother's life's in danger. So that's
Got
not
it.
a termination as much as it's a choosing which life to save.
Got it.
Okay, yeah, that's not at all the point I'm arguing. I'm arguing for the Hector definition. The pro-choice definition is the termination of a pregnancy. That means willful.
That's fine.
Intentional.
We can settle on that. No problem.
As a
That's
fellow
because that's what we're
Hector.
talking about anyway.
As a fellow Hector, your argument was really weak.
Don't whisper that again.
That was good.
I think that's going to be my new thing. All right, continue. I'm sorry.
All right, so we have one Hector point about.
Let's go ahead and get
life
into
of a mother.
it. Yeah.
I think what might be beneficial is to help us distinguish between something we don't do a good job distinguishing, if I may, Brother Hunter. I think that one area that Christians are really weak in is just writing a certain political party in this category instead of thinking critically in their own terms.
Yeah.
abortion for a Christian should not be a political issue. It is a Bible issue for a Christian. Okay, and we'll get into all the what ifs in a minute, and I think we should, by the way. I think we'd be doing a disservice if we didn't.
Right.
But I think all of us can agree on this. If you are pro-life because that is a political party you support, you're failing as a Christian.
Right.
You should be pro-life, forgetting in a political sense, because God is. And that we recognize that all human beings, including Hector, are created in the image of God. And I think that's the key point. And we can go into why, but just a couple quick examples. The Holy Spirit came upon John the Baptist when he was still in his mother Elizabeth's womb.
Right.
Okay? David has the most intimate telling about how God, knit him together in his mother's womb, that he was conceived in sin. There's no doubt from a biblical perspective that life begins at conception.
Right.
For a Christian, there's no doubt. And if life begins at conception, and there's a separation between human life and the rest of it. Yes, I know that we all love our dogs and our cats, and not all of us, but some people like dogs and cats and all that stuff. That's fine. But there's a separation between human life and the rest of God's creation. And God's point is that human beings are created in his image, thus have inherent value and should be treated as such. So just laying out the Christian point so we can move on to the other points. The Christian worldview should be not one of a political issue, but one of a Bible issue. What percentage you are taxed is a political issue. Who you vote for is a political issue. Immigration is a political issue.
Right.
Abortion is a Bible issue. That's the
Correct.
difference.
Well, abortion is call back to episode 1 or 2 or something. Moral and ethical.
Right.
Yeah.
That's what it is. This is an ethical issue.
Right.
Like, should it be right? Should it be okay? What are the arguments for? I think this is what's real crazy to me. Sorry. Is I think of this way on like the gun stands, like Second Amendment and stuff. I've never sat there and, because I'm very pro-gun, very pro-Second Amendment, I've never sat there and thought of the people who didn't like guns, like, boy, hate those guys.
Right.
Those guys are the worst and they're evil. It's like, no, because in my opinion, a lot of those people say, let's take away guns because I believe that will solve the problem of people being killed by guns. Right? I disagree with that.
But you believe that they actually believe.
Right. It's not that they're trying to, not all of them are trying to be jerks or anything. It's just like, hey,
they really
I think that this will solve the problem. But when it comes to abortion, that's what's always stifled me, is that I can't really think like that because I'm just like, what are you arguing for?
Yeah,
I mean, you're literally on the killing babies side of the team.
Right. So if in that same regard, this is where and that we've got to quit marking lines in the sand and dying on hills that don't matter. Vaccine, not vaccine,
right.
Stuff like that. Like, come on, for a Christian perspective, that cannot be a hill you die on. I mean, that can
when you're not dying on the important ones,
right?
Yeah.
Exactly. You speak louder about that than you do about things that
Correct.
actually matter.
I am upset because there are no more Ten Commandments in front of the courthouse.
Right.
I am
yeah.
upset
Or a nativity scene
because
that's not
the
in the Bible.
nativity scene does not
Right.
include these
because we don't pray to open up our school classes.
Right, yeah. I think we've gotten lulled to sleep in this regard. To Hunter's point, I can have a godly Christian disagree with me on so many fronts.
Yeah.
And I don't care if they vote for the same person I do.
For sure.
Who cares? But in this area, if you call yourself a Christian and are in support of the murder of children in the womb, used to, and we still can. Now, for all of those people who say, well, then it's really an argument of where life begins, then let me tell you why that encourages me. Because then we can have a conversation.
100%.
Because if you truly don't believe life begins until, say, week 20 and pregnant, well, that's a conversation we can have.
Yeah.
The problem is there are Christians right now today that will say this. No, obviously life begins at conception. It's just not a life that matters. Okay, a daughter of a prominent politician in this country, both her mother and her father were prominent politicians in this family, said this about 10 years ago. She said, a reporter asked her, do you think it is unethical to oppose abortion? And she said, not only is it unethical to oppose abortion, it's unchristian to oppose abortion.
Dude.
Let that sink in for a minute. So again, if it's an argument about when does life begin, that's a worthwhile argument that I think we should have. But to those Christians who admit, no, it absolutely is, that's another category of an even deeper problem, I believe.
Man.
I mean, that's sad. That saddens me.
Yeah.
So let's talk about it real quick.
Sure.
When does life begin? Let's go ahead and do that, and then we're going to go into your Hector's point.
And then I've got a Hector point.
And you've got a Hector point. I've got a Hector. Hector's just all over this episode, guys. If Hector's your favorite character, saddle
ready.
up. That's right.
You're going to love it.
All right, guys. So life. When does life begin? Formed you in your mother's womb. Okay, so now we've got the womb. Let's back it up from, okay, I'm outside of the womb. Am I alive?
You're
What?
outside of the womb.
Me right here, 24 years old, sitting here on this podcast.
Oh.
Am I alive?
Yes.
Has life
yeah.
started? Yes, okay.
Yeah.
When my mom was pregnant with me, if God formed me in the womb, am I alive?
Yeah.
Okay, we're still backpedaling. Let's backpedal all the way. So when in that womb did life begin?
Before the foundation of the world.
Before the foundation of the world?
Sure, but I
Yeah,
guess he's asking in time, when did that take place? is
in
his
time?
point. Yeah.
Whenever you were conceived, I would assume.
At conception is what you would say.
I would say that at conception. I would say that you were at least thought of and already figured out before everything even started, before time even started. But that's the Romans' argument, I would assume.
Yeah, here's what I would say. From a Christian vantage point, you've got to do something with the sentence, I was conceived in sin. And that's important because David is speaking about a human being.
Right.
And he's not, a tree is not conceived in sin. The point being is, David makes a really good argument that life begins at conception because God wouldn't call a tree sinful.
Right.
And that's the point. And a tree is alive. Tree's alive. One common, decent biological argument that could be made, I won't even put a Hector hat on here because this is a thought-provoking. By the way, Christians, it's okay to think critically and ask questions.
Right.
It doesn't make you a heretic.
Even if it makes you a little uncomfortable.
Right. They'll say, okay, let's at least be consistent. Let's do heartbeat. Okay? If we're going to use the little green line going flat to say someone's life is over, let's use that to say someone's life began.
Okay.
All right. Even though I think biblically you're going to have a hard time not saying conception, let's go there. The average heartbeat begins at about 3 weeks. The average woman doesn't know she's pregnant till 4 to 6 weeks. The overwhelming majority of intentional abortions, are far after a heartbeat. So if we're just going to go based on biology, so let's say, all right, let's remove the Bible from it, which I always love how Christians fall for that trap. They can keep their worldview, but you have to get rid of yours. Most women don't know that my wife's had 2 children. Most women don't know they're pregnant until they're 6 weeks pregnant. 5 weeks if they're lucky. We're talking about a heartbeat that's beginning when the child is smaller than your thumbnail.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, so I think from a scientific biological argument, I don't know how you can get past a heartbeat. Now, other Hectors will, or even genuine, will say, all right, they'll say pain.
When you can feel.
When you can feel pain, which is at about, as far as we can tell, you can only do something that's 20 weeks in embryo.
Right.
Okay. The problem with that argument where it fails so much is if someone's numbed up on painkillers, are they no longer human?
They're no longer alive.
Right. Are we really using that as our guideline?
Right.
Which I think there's a very slippery slope that we could easily fall into if we do that route.
For sure.
I mean, that's a horrible way to try to do it.
Because then you have to have the argument of, what's it called? Assisted suicide.
Yeah,
like,
and euthanasia and assisted suicide.
Euthanasia, that's it. It's like when, so if I can pick when I determine when life starts, I can pick and determine when I think life should be over. And if someone is in a vegetated state,
Sure.
their
It's
brain
over.
waves are gone.
Gone.
They're never
Sure.
going to come back. Okay, yeah, I have the power of death. I can kill that person.
And I think, yeah, exactly. And I think what's so amazing is the blatant inconsistency we have. I mean, think about it. Still in most states, if you shoot a pregnant woman and they both die, what are you charged with?
Double homicide.
Okay, right. But if you go to a doctor and pay government money, then you did a good thing.
Right.
What's amazing is
Not just an okay thing, a good thing.
there are some states, and if you don't believe me right now, I encourage you to pull out your little cell phone or get your Google fingers ready.
They're probably on their cell phones watching this, but okay, that works.
Okay, well, I watch on my laptop, okay?
Well, we're not all perfect. So
Okay, thank you. There are some states that are still trying to do something that was outlawed 20 years ago and bring back post-birth abortions. Now, I challenge the Christian and myself, by the way. No, most people find that appalling. Is it less appalling 3 weeks earlier?
No.
Or 5 weeks earlier? In other words, it's not less appalling.
It's okay. It's a little less shocking
Yeah.
because you don't see.
Right.
That's literally what it is. It's the veil.
You know,
Latency.
there's a reason that, how do I say this? We all rebel in different ways. But most of the time, there's still a level of shame that comes from our rebellion. There are still certain buildings that don't have windows for a reason.
Yeah.
Because we're ashamed of our rebellion.
Yeah.
Okay? What we're talking about now, so when it's, there's a documentary called The Silent Scream.
Yep.
It's kind of tough to watch, but it probably should be watched. When you can't hear it, it's the same reason why some people find it easier to kill a fly than to do a deer.
Right.
Okay? It definitely is more impactful because it's funny. As men, when I put my hand on my wife's stomach when Ava was second trimester, so I'm just going to make five months, so 20 to 25 weeks, and I put my hand and I felt Ava kick against my hand. I'm like, part of you thinks like that's an alien. Part of you's like,
Yeah. It's like, what is that thing?
Whoa.
like you can't convince me. You could have every scientist in the world. You would not be able to convince me that what I felt that time was not alive. We can call it whatever we want. Was not alive. When I talked to my wife about it, like, what does that feel like? She goes, I really can't describe it to you because some days it feels like, in the early days, you say, in the very early, first few weeks, it feels like a bunch of gas, right? And then later on, she goes, it feels like a creature's inside me moving around all the time. Like, all the time. And then we go to get an ultrasound later on, and, she's not turning to where we could see If you have not been blessed with going and getting an ultrasound the past 5 to 10 years since the technology's advanced, let me tell you something. It is so cool.
It's cool.
Anyway,
It
she's
is
just
really
moving this little thing over Rachel's belly, and I can see Ava in there, or Naomi, and they can see through the skull and see
brain.
they see through her chest and see the heart moving. This is crazy. We're talking about she's the size of this little bottle, and I'm seeing all this, right? Well, she's not turning over to where we can see her face. At 20 weeks pregnant, a child can start recognizing and memorizing voices outside the womb. So in other words, she can recognize voices that she hears all the time at 20 weeks pregnant outside the womb.
Man.
Like fathers, preachers, radio, stuff like that.
It's cool. It's cool.
I said, Ava. And I was like, Rachel is where you were at.
Yeah.
And then the baby moved in her belly towards me, towards what I just said. And I'm just like, okay, let's call a spade, guys. I mean, let's at least call a spade a spade. Are you
Right.
kidding me? You're not going to be able to convince me. I'm unconvincible in this, right?
Mm-hmm.
We have two groups of people when we talk about this. Well, really three. We have those that know it's wrong but are afraid. Okay,
Right. That's a very real thing.
Are scared. Are don't know what else to do. We have people that know it's wrong. So really, we have four. Know it's wrong, but are in rebellion. I don't care.
It's more convenient that
Yes.
I do this.
We have people that think it's actually okay because they don't truly believe it's a life. Then we have people that think it's okay because they've been told it's not a life that matters. They've been duped. They've been told it's just not a life that matters. So you got to know which group you're speaking to when you talk about these things. But from the Christian perspective, you have to accept that God values all life, which would also include the doctor who performed that abortion. It would include the mother. It would include the father who allowed God values all life, including the child's.
Right. So let's talk about it's not a life that matters real quick. Send it.
ready.
All right. Pastor Josiah has the Hector hat on.
I have the Hector hat on. Please, everyone understand I have the Hector hat on.
There we go. What do you
Okay.
gotta say?
My Bob the Builder Hector hat. No!
That just fell off.
You put it on sideways.
All right. Well, because it won't fit
It's
this
it
way.
won't fit because
the
of
headphones.
All right.
We got to get Hector beanies or something.
Yeah, right? All right.
Get a patch.
It's not a life that matters. Okay, fine. Hector hat on. I accept that it is a life and that God would probably not want me to kill this child. However, the Bible also says to raise your children up in the nurture and the admonition of the Lord. I would not be able to provide this child with a loving, godly life. It's a one-parent household. There's no one else. I don't have the money to do it. I'd have to put them up for adoption anyway. I can't take care of this child. I'm not in a state to do it. I am too young. I am too mentally distressed. I have too much going on. I have too many issues. I would not be able to raise this child up as God would have it. So I'm going to fail either way. I'm going to fail either way, and I'm going to pull a lot of other people's lives in the dirt with me if I go through this pregnancy. So what am I supposed to do? Wouldn't God rather me, though he probably would not prefer to just get rid of this child? Man, this is really hard for me to wear this. To get rid of this child so that I don't cause despair in all these other areas as well.
Well, first question would be, has there ever been...
That was really hard for me to say, by the way.
Yeah,
so there we
I
go.
know.
Okay.
all Hector.
Yeah.
Has there ever been an accidental pregnancy? And I'll ask that to the table.
An accidental pregnancy?
An
I don't
accidental
believe so.
pregnancy.
My Hector hat is off now.
Yeah, the Hector hat is off.
I don't believe in fate. I don't believe in I'm sorry. I don't believe in coincidences. I don't believe in accidents. Everything has a purpose. Everything has been planned out. So,
Purposed by whom or by what?
purpose by God for God's glory.
Okay, so it's your belief that everything that happened is purposed by God?
Yes. Yeah.
Determined by God?
Which is
I'm fine with that.
Whoa.
I'm a determinist. Yep.
Wait, are you really? Mm-hmm. Hold on.
I'm not kidding.
No disrespect. I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
You're legit a determinist. Mm-hmm. Oh.
I think it.
To what extent? Before we move on, I'm sorry. To what extent?
I think God has a plan for every single thing that's ever happened.
Okay, but does he work all things out?
He works everything out for his glory, regardless of what it looks like for us.
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm on board with that.
Yeah, so far so am I. It's not necessarily a determinist stance, though.
Well, I think what is beneficial, and he even took it back when he said it. I think that's what's so purposeful, because a lot of times we get into, and we probably should do an episode on it, by the way.
For sure. We have it scheduled.
Free will, determine. Okay.
Free will and determination.
I think a key point that would settle a lot of confusion in this area, just to make it apply here, is it's not fate. It's
Right.
It is providential. In other words, no, that's why I'm so glad that you said that at the end. There's a difference between saying it's fated and it's providence, because one has a purpose, one does not. So an atheistic worldview where we're all just molecules in motion. We're all just protoplasms and just doing whatever the chemical reactions in our brain have destined us to do. That's fate. That's purposeless. There's no purpose in that. That is atheistic, deterministic fate.
Yeah.
What Andrew was describing is providence, where there is a grand designer and purpose behind it, and that's a world of difference. But we're probably point being is, in that sense, of course, there's not an accidental pregnancy in that sense, because there's no such thing as an
plan for
accident.
evil, I plan for good.
Yeah, exactly. I think, exactly.
And I think the real question is what I'm saying here, and the reason I ask is because some Christians will go to the point of saying, we don't use condoms, we don't use this, we don't believe in vasectomies, we don't believe in that, because if there is a pregnancy, then it was ordained by God, hand-delivered by God, and all that. And so then there are some that just say, okay, we won't have any outside surgeries, but we can use protection or whatever like that.
Right.
So it's just the question to the table when it comes to what Hector brought up is about being able to provide a good life and all that stuff is it a possibility that somebody gets pregnant outside of God's will?
Outside of his will? No. I don't think so. I think that God will provide no matter what, regardless of the circumstances you may find yourself in. If you are a single parent who any circumstance that you get pregnant under, God will provide a way for you.
Okay.
Yeah, I would say that in regards to the first point about, well, why even do X, Y, or Z if God has said this will happen, all that stuff. Well, that's the same thing throughout the whole Bible. You know, he said, I'm going to make sure, Nehemiah, that you build the wall. By the way, train your guys and carry swords. In other words, he uses means to bring it about. He doesn't just, has means to bring it about. Same as he told his disciples, I'll be with you wherever you go. By the way, go sell your coat and buy a sword. By the way, eat this, all that stuff. So in other words, that doesn't get rid of our responsibility and what we're supposed to do. But to your other point, I would say you were saying something about what did you say after the accidental pregnancy thing?
Shoot, man, I don't remember. I was talking about is it possible to be pregnant outside of God saying you're going to have a child?
Well, it's certainly possible to be pregnant outside of what he desired for your life. But if you mean outside of his wills and his control, what he has purposed or allowed to take place, no, of course not. But if you mean outside of what he's permitted, yeah, and of course this goes into that other episode, but God has permitted that he doesn't always get that which he wants. He always get what he wills, but he doesn't always get what he wants. In other words, he made a law knowing that it would be broken.
Yeah.
Right.
So in that, and he didn't want it to be. You know, it's like the old past, I take no pleasure in the death of the wicked. That doesn't mean he doesn't kill the wicked.
Right.
It means he takes no pleasure in it. He's not happy about it. Right. So in that sense, when it comes to the pregnancy, I think one key point that we should make, and I'm about to say something, so get ready to clutch your pearls.
So the hogs don't step on them.
Yeah, because I guarantee you someone's not going to let me finish this thought process.
Is it going to be me?
No. Someone listening.
Okay.
Being pregnant outside of wedlock is not sinful.
Boom.
Listen to how I said that.
Wait, say that again.
Being pregnant outside of wedlock is not sinful. Now, the act that caused that pregnancy
For sure.
certainly was for both people involved.
Right.
But the act of being pregnant, in other words, someone can fully repent of that, make it right, all that stuff right, and still be pregnant outside of wedlock. In other words, we don't need to look at the state of being pregnant as sinful.
Right.
See. It is.
Got it. Okay.
It is premarital sex is sinful. Premarital adultery is
But
sexual.
the child
right
from
so,
that is not.
So in other words, the heart could be for a repentant man or woman changed, and then the woman is still pregnant as a result of the sinful actions from 4 months ago. Does everyone follow me on that?
Right.
Yes.
So that's important for us as Christians to keep in mind, is that the consequences and results of sin can remain far after the repentance for it has already happened. And that's true in all of our lives. The the results of that sin are still going to take place even after that. That doesn't necessarily mean the sinful state is still there. And the reason that's important is because anyone listening here now that, and I'm, by the way, men, you are not less responsible in this scenario, that has had an abortion, you are no more a sinner than I am, or Hunter is, or Andrew is. Now, we're still going to call a spade, by the way.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. But you're no more sinful than anyone else. You are a sinner in need of a Savior just like the rest of us. So I make that distinction, and I knew I'd get that look because it's just the thought of
Right.
you may or may not be in a continual state of sin for the next 9.5 months. But you don't have to be just because the result of it is still there. That's all I was getting at.
Yeah.
So our shot. All right. So
Hold on. We gotta answer Hector. We gotta get down to what was said. Is God said to raise them up proper, right, in the Lord's love, right? And so He says, if I'm not in that position to do that, why is it that I wouldn't be able to terminate the pregnancy? Because I would be having it in disobedience.
Isn't it amazing the little euphemisms we use to make it sound better?
Right.
Terminate the pregnancy instead of kill the baby.
I'm sitting here like thinking everything through to try and be as accurate as I can to what was asked from that perspective. So the reason I brought up the question, is it possible to be pregnant by accident? By outside of God saying, this is a life. I knew that baby before it ever entered the freaking egg. I knew that baby before the sex was ever had.
Right.
Like, I knew its name. I knew how many hairs would be on its head should it live. I knew this, that, you know, I the second that sperm hit the egg, I started forming it in its womb.
Wow.
Like, right then and right there. So if I believe that, then I'm hard-pressed to believe that God would say, it's totally chill if you want to kill this, that I put in there and that I formed and that I knew and that I did all that because you just don't have the means. And also, when it comes to you not having the means, with me being the great provider, you know what I'm saying? Like, if you actually are trying and you honestly had the opinion, I want to raise this child up in the love and admonition of the Lord, the way the Bible tells me to. And then, but you're going to ignore the passage when it says, look at the lilies of the field and how it's coded. Look at even the sparrow, right? Like, oh, you of little faith. I look first to the kingdom. Look first to the kingdom of God, and all these things will be added unto you. Like, if you want to ignore that part and just look at this part that you're feeling like, I'm not sure I can live up to that. It's not about you living up to it. It's about God living up to it.
Good word.
Yeah.
And then another thing to think about is, why would God then condemn it, or why would then God condone a sin?
Word. Oh, because I'm a special case.
Right. So you say, oh, well, this was, okay, I'll say it. I was raped. And now I have and now I'm a child. And I'm not making light of that.
Right.
I am not making fun of that. I'm not saying it negative. Well, I mean, obviously that's negative. We definitely do not want that. That's awful and terrible. And God condemned it. I know a lot of people are like, well, God never said anything. Yeah, he did.
Sure he did.
Actually, it was one of the capital punishments. There were 16 laws in the Leviticus and Exodus that were you're supposed to be put to death for. I think the American justice system should take another look at harsher punishments for rape because God sure did. But anyway.
Yeah. So someone is raped. They have a child. They make all this. They say, all right, the father's not in the picture. All this, everything you just said, I'm going to terminate the pregnancy because I can't provide for this child. Okay. So it was conceived by a terrible, evil act. A sinful act. Why would God then go, all right, well, now you can kill it?
And those sins are going to cancel out those sins, like PEMDAS.
I'm gonna turn my head, and you go ahead and you kill that child, and no one's going to be the wiser. I won't care. When you come to me for judgment, I'm going to say, don't worry about that one. Because you were raped.
And I've heard this in my own personal life. I've heard when I look at that child, I'm going to be uncomfortable. I'm going to be disgusted. Because I'll see him in them.
Right.
And I was just like,
I don't care about your opinion of your child. That is the yes. That would be terrible to see that victim, to be the victim every time you see that child. But that's a child. That's another life.
Right.
Right. And the big argument is, okay, because here's my big argument. Because they say pro-choice, right? They make a really nice term for their position, pro-choice, which is I always thought was funny because they never tried to soften the word abortion. They never tried to make that sound nicer, but they just made their stance pro-choice nicer. And they're about pro-choice, choose whether or not to go through with the pregnancy. I was like, okay, I'm also pro-choice, but the choice is whether or not to have unprotected sex with somebody you don't want to have a baby with.
Right.
Right, that's the choice, not whether or not to kill it afterwards. So if we want to talk about choice, I'm pro-choice. But when it's talk about in the instance of rape, well, shoot, they say, I don't have a choice. I didn't have no dang choice in that. So now what? Now where do we go? Because that was forced upon me. I didn't want it. I didn't do this, didn't do that, or whatever. So what happens now?
Yeah, that's a trap. Christians are so gullible for falling into this crap because you'll take something. Guys, listen. We as people, y'all listen to me for a minute, have got to learn how to think critically. You've got to. Okay? I'll use just a few examples. Just because something is called the Patriot Act does not make it patriotic. Just because something is called the Affordable Care Act does not make it affordable or say that anyone cares. Just because something's called Operation Warp, American Rescue Plan, just because it's all CARES Act, doesn't mean anything in name only. Grape nuts are not grapes or nuts. Koala bears are not bears. I mean, we've been,
right.
Don't argue with me on that.
No, I wouldn't. They're marsupials.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Say that word again.
The
marsupial.
Thank you. Okay.
They're rats.
Rats?
No one is now get ready. Get ready for what I'm about to say. This. No one is against Planned Parenthood.
Right.
In other words, who's against parenthood being planned?
Everybody should.
In name, that's great.
Sure.
Pro-choice. Of course, women should have a right to choose. They're creating the image of God. In other words, we fall for the trap of because something is wrapped up in really good wrapping,
rhetoric,
then everything behind it must be true. And by the way, if you still think this is a political issue, it happens in both political parties. But again, this is not a political issue, it's a Bible issue. The point is, think critically for a moment. I mean, in one sense, I am a witness of Jehovah. I am a church of the saints of the latter days. I believe in a Catholic universal church.
Right.
You see my point? In name, yeah. But think critically about what those names mean, what's behind them, and you'll be all the wiser for when you actually have to come down to make ethical decisions.
Yeah.
That's my soapbox.
That's your soapbox.
I mean, it's an important one.
I mean, it's important. And you think about consequences to actions. Should I go into a kitchen and I pull out peanut butter? I open the refrigerator, I pull out jelly.
Yeah.
Right? You see where this is going?
Yeah.
Your mouth is watering. Pull out
Just a little
paper towel, a knife.
paper towel.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah, because, well, one, when you put on the peanut butter, wipe off the knife, put it in the jelly. Because just because you eat peanut butter and jelly doesn't mean everybody wants peanut butter with their jelly when they go to put it on their sausage or their biscuit.
Okay.
Does that not make sense to you?
No.
Now, I typically use a spoon for the jelly and a knife for the peanut butter, but I'm good either way.
Right. It's
Hey, let's take a break
How are
from
you
our.
raised?
Let's take a break real quick from our that just real quick. Does everyone agree? Peanut butter on one slice, jelly on the other, made them. Not
Correct.
Peanut butter on one piece of bread, jelly on top of that peanut butter, plain piece of bread on top.
I don't
No.
like that at all.
Okay.
No. Peanut butter on both pieces, and then you put jelly on, then you have double the peanut butter. Kiss it.
Why don't you just put a thicker layer on the first
Yeah,
one?
why don't
Because
you
then
just
you
put
have-
more-
Are you one of
to-
those people that puts the sock and the shoe on the left foot and then the sock and the shoe on the right instead of double sock, double shoe?
Can I be honest? I'm not consistent with that.
Really?
I'll do it. It just depends.
All right. I'm going to ask it. Toilet paper. Forward
It's forward.
All right.
If you do it back, I have an issue with you.
All right. It's forward. It's not a hill to die on.
I'm hostile about this.
It has to be forward so that your daughter doesn't come in and waste all of it by pulling it and pulling way too much.
100%.
That's the thing. It's about money.
Now let's just talk about this. The basic principle: you have to reach farther if the toilet paper is done
last time
on the back. You have to reach under and past.
If you have an old home,
that's as far as I can go.
And all toilet paper rolls are now double rolls. Like literally every toilet paper roll is a double roll, which means none of them are actually double rolls. It's too thick when you first put it on, and it like gets stuck, and you have to like use 7 layers of it. I know y'all know what I'm talking about. You can look at me all you want, but I know you know what I'm talking about, right? Okay?
I think that you read judgment in eyes that were non-judgmental because you were insecure about the point you're making.
Yeah. The judgmental eyes I looked at were our camera crew and our audio-visual team.
Okay, for sure. That probably was true.
We have an audio-visual team?
What am I going to call them?
The camera people?
The camera people.
The A team? No.
Anyways,
don't give yourself that much credit.
Anyways, you have your peanut butter, you have your jelly, you get your knife, you spread your peanut butter, clean it, spread your jelly.
I'm not going to get you that Dr. Pepper left.
Put those together, and now you have a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and you say, what the heck? I do not want a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I'm just going to throw it away.
Okay, one, I would punch you. You don't throw away perfectly good food.
No, you don't. And you don't throw away a perfectly good life. Hey-o.
I see the point you're making.
You see the point I'm making is that you do this process that has a very obvious conclusion.
If you're not safe with it.
Like, sure. And it is both for, in the Christian standpoint, it is not just about procreation. I was thinking recreation and then recreation.
Right.
Recreation wasn't right.
No.
It's not just about making children, right? I 100% agree with that. But
no, it's the intimacy of a man and a woman.
Sure,
becoming one flesh.
Should I say, hey, babe, I want to have a kid? That's your process. Just like if, hey, I want to make a sandwich. That's your process. So when it comes time for that sandwich to be on your plate and you're going to get upset, like you literally just made it. Like, I'm sorry, but that's what I'm saying. It's like you can't be surprised and upset at the consequence of a very basic, natural, instinctual action. Like, oh dang, my drinks fell over because I pushed it. It's just what happens when you make an action. There is a consequence. Whether that consequence is positive or negative is up to you. But just you can't just say, I no longer want this consequence because I'm not a fan of responsibility or accountability. So I'm going to do the action without receiving the consequence because I am special. Like, that doesn't make sense. Like, who gave you that authority? The government of the United States? Well, the government of the United States is here today and gone tomorrow.
It's so amazing. We can, what you just said there, we can read Old Testament accounts of child sacrifice.
Yeah. Molech.
And they were far less effective at killing their children than we are.
My gosh.
Guys, we're approaching, just in the United States, let's forget about China, let's forget about India, let's forget about England, let's forget about France, just in the United States, in 50 years, we're at 65 million children. That is more people than most countries have citizens. And that's how many people we're talking about. I mean, that means 65 million. And it's incredible. You're talking about consequences have actions. You know, we always say, God bless America. Can we really ask God to bless a nation that murders their most? So, and you know, when Brother Jeff says it's time for us to quit saying God bless America and start blessing God. In other words, speaking a good word of God, praising God. It's amazing, though, how many people in the church are silent about that? Like if you want something to get upset about, and I'm not talking about being rude or crude,
Right.
To especially women that are going through that. We've helped many people in those scenarios. We had one lady who had abortion preach here before, but if you can't see that as a worthwhile cause, and you're more upset about a vaccine or a nativity scene, you have your priorities just jacked up. And you want to talk about a consequence, and then you sit and wonder, like, what is God allowing this country to come to? Are you kidding me?
Exactly what it should be.
Are you kidding me? Like, are you serious? It's exactly that. Like, you touch the fire and expect not to be burned.
Right.
I mean, that's what's happening.
And then you blame the one who started the fire.
And of course, it's not
like,
just
you put your hand there, dog.
And it's not just abortion, but this is a clear example. Wake up! Like, what are we doing?
I noticed that Hector has joined the table in the form of Andrew Cook.
You two white men who obviously have never had a kid, never been in a situation like this. You have beards. Goodness.
Yeah,
You two
why
are
did he attack the beard?
stupid.
I don't know.
Because that's a thing. Okay.
I didn't know that
so
one.
He's more
We need
aware
an
of that.
episode
all I
about
know
beards.
is you're speaking of your truth. Your truth is your whole Bible thing. I don't believe that. My truth is relative to me. So thus, everything you're saying doesn't apply to me because I don't share your same value.
Oh, no. Keep that Hector hat on.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, keep that
Answer
Hector hat on.
for
Keep
it, Hector.
We're about
You
to
have to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's say,
right.
are you using charcoal or propane to grill him?
Pure
Please.
burning
That was
propane.
good, wasn't it?
Yeah.
All right,
I like
I
it.
sell propane.
Our
and
camera
propane
crew liked it.
accessories.
Yeah.
They better comment on this video that they like that.
Oh no, they're going to comment some stuff, but it ain't going to be about that. All right, go ahead. I'm ready.
Okay. You want him first or me?
I
It
know
seems
this is
like
not directed
you
at
were
me.
excited, but
Okay.
I'll
Hector.
chime in.
Me personally, no. This is Hector. Okay.
Yeah, okay. So, Hector,
So Andrew, no, I'm just kidding.
is what you just said true?
It to me, yes, it
To
is
you?
true.
Okay.
But truth is relative.
Are you sure about that?
Yes, absolutely sure.
So,
He's playing into it.
it's true. It's an absolute truth that
That
truth is
truth
relative.
is relative to the person. Yes.
Well, you know what? What's funny is
an
I
absolute
Is that
truth.
relative?
It's an absolute truth.
I wanted to laugh at him for playing along with what you were doing because he knew, but then I thought, what other answer is there?
Right. Yeah.
Because I have never spoken to somebody who believed in relative truth that have ever made it past that point.
No
not
one.
not saying that person doesn't exist, and I will
If
be
they do,
impressed.
you can come on this show.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm serious.
Because
If you-
I will be impressed, but saying, I believe in relative truth, man. Like, oh, is that right? Is that true?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
I mean,
oh, is it?
I had a perfect setup one time. Like, I'm terrible at baseball, but I had a slow pitch, and I hit a home run on this one. It's like the only one I'll ever actually hit because I'm terrible at baseball.
Is that the same
High
as a
school,
touchdown?
senior year. Yeah, same as touchdown. Andrew.
Okay,
He's all right, Hector. You're a nerd too, Hector? Like Andrew?
No, that was me.
No, that was
Andrew.
100% Andrew.
High school. I'll never forget. I said, it's an absolute fact. And then I can still see him. His name is Philip. He's sitting off to my left. He goes, there are no absolutes. And I looked at him, and I'm never going to be this smooth again.
Right.
And I said, are you absolutely sure? And he said, absolutely. And he didn't get it. Like, I need to find him and ask him, does he still not get it? Okay, my point being is, when people say there are no absolutes or truth is relative, is the statement truth is relative, or is that true?
Now, there are some thinkers who will say there are no such things as absolutes, and that is their philosophy, and they have these arguments. But to tell you the truth, man, one, I've never, in all my study and all my time of just being interested in philosophy, have I ever agreed with a philosophy that didn't acknowledge absolute truth.
Right.
But then also, there are some people who just say it because they've heard it, and they do not want to pick a side. Like,
Right. They think it makes them neutral.
correct when it does not. You have picked the side of
I think
incorrect.
neutrality is one of the biggest lies. This is Andrew talking. I think neutrality is one of the biggest lies.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure.
You can't be. There's very little to really. I don't think. There's very little you can be neutral on it. And I understand there's gray areas. Yeah, okay, we can understand gray areas. But in the fact of the matter, most sides peanut butter and jelly or tuna fish? Well, I like tuna fish. Okay, what about peanut butter and jelly? Well, I like that too, but I like tuna fish better. Okay, so you have a choice.
Most of the things worth debating about.
There is a a left and a right.
This is
like
this
which
isn't-
is the best Batman, obviously. Like those. I'm just kidding.
Let's not start that.
Oh boy,
Because that would be a quick conversation.
But this is a discussion of
canonical.
and this really is a philosophical question. Say, I don't care either way. Okay, but you did just pick a side by saying that. Like, if your philosophy is, I don't care about philosophy, that is a philosophy, and you are a philosopher. In the same way of saying,
I remember
this side, I don't care. Well, you have now made a third side that is more self-centric.
It's
not
the
saying
argument,
selfish, but
it's the argument a professor of mine made at in college.
There you go.
Okay,
Don't say
in
it.
college, he goes, if you're against abortion, don't have an abortion, but don't tell anyone else not to. So, but then I was just like, so if I'm against rape, am I allowed to tell other people not to rape? In other words,
right.
I have a right to stand up if I think something is wrong. And by the way, so do you, because you think that
You can stand there in front of us and tell us not to say
yes,
that.
you think like we agree on so many issues. We think that racism is wrong and we should stand up and say it's wrong. We think that rape is wrong. We should stand up and say it's wrong. So don't come to me and say if you're not for abortion, don't have an abortion then, but let other people do it. No, it's the same as other things. If I think it is right or wrong and it affects somebody else, which all three of those scenarios do, then we have an obligation to stand. He who knows what is right and chooses not to do it, to him,
For
it
him
is.
it is sin.
I mean, goodness gracious.
James 4:19.
Can you drop that mic?
Yeah,
I
please
can't.
don't-
I
please
wouldn't
don't
want
drop
to.
the mic.
But no, that's a. I know that because
Physically don't drop it.
Yeah,
might
I
be
know
my
that 'cause it
favorite
slaps
verse.
me in the face all the time. Yeah.
Yeah. No, that's what I share with most people who ever ask me for advice. I say, there you go. That's what I live by. Boom. Do you know when it's right?
Yeah.
Okay, then do it.
Next.
not to get off of the
He's wearing a
abortion.
Hector hat.
No.
Dude,
y'all told me not to
you
take it
got
off.
to.
Yeah,
You've got to.
You're doing a bad job with Hector, man.
Dude, you told me to keep it on.
Yeah, but we grilled it.
Oh, it's done? Oh, praise the Lord. Okay. Just off. Okay. No, I have to go because you've mentioned it twice on this episode. Vaccines. The argument you just made is what I've heard a lot of people say.
We're not about to talk about this, right?
No.
No chance.
Okay,
But no,
Okay,
I'd
say your point.
let me say my point, and
All right,
then
all
We'll
right.
take your point.
But the argument you just made, where the professor said you can have it, or I don't think that argument is what is used now for vaccine mandates.
my choice, my body.
No. Don't tell me I have to get it. You can get it all day long, but
Yeah.
don't tell me I have to get it.
Yeah, that's a faulty argument because one kills another human being that's inside of you. The other has to do with your health.
Okay, I'm just.
No, I know what you were doing. Yeah.
I wanted that to be out there.
And there's just so much to say about what both of you just said right there. And I'm just like,
Let it go.
I'm
No,
sad.
just-
There's so much good conversation.
I
Just
know.
press-
Let's save it for another
Press
episode.
pause on
Okay.
it. I have a feeling this one's going to have a part two, so it's be fine.
Yeah.
You still have a Hector, don't you? Or did we already cover your
Well,
Hector?
actually, he did steal my Hector, even though I did point it out before the episode started what
You
it was going to be.
did?
No, I
And
didn't.
But he didn't.
you sure did
No, I didn't. I did
in the
one
scenario
I
of
had.
rape.
That was yours?
That was yours.
That was mine. You said
no,
that you're.
he said that was his.
No, he said that
No,
his is
I just
why
brought
should
it
I
up
have to
early.
listen to you because I'm not a Christian.
Yeah,
I said
which
mine
did.
was in the scenario of rape, and you brought both of them up.
Well, I'm sorry. Why don't you
you
just?
know-
I don't know. Why don't you just
Continue,
make the point
Hector?
again? Yeah, just think of something else, Hector. Shoot.
Shoot, man.
There's a plethora of arguments against it, so I mean,
Well, bring one up.
you would put me on the spot like that. Okay.
That's what I'm saying because
All right.
now I'm on the spot.
All right.
and
So
my feelings are
what's
hurt.
another? Well, your facts don't care about your feelings.
That was copyrighted for sure.
Yeah.
I've kind of got one.
Okay.
Well, no, that's not true.
Kind of got one, or not true that you do have one.
Well, it's not really a Hector point. In other words,
It doesn't have to be a
It
Hector.
didn't have an Hector point.
so then if Christians, okay, they say, all right, so if I accept the biblical stance that life begins at conception, what do we do? And I think the Bible consistently teaches, from Old Testament to New Testament, that the taking of innocent life is wrong. Now, some one-semester theologian is going to say, there's no such innocent people. Yes, in the judgment of God, understood. But in the law of man, there is such a thing as innocent, not innocent, okay? Taking of innocent life is contrary to the law of God, okay?
Yeah.
The only exception that genuine Christians have ever made to that in church history would be life of a mother. That's the only exception. In other words, to save another life, you kill a life.
Right.
Now, we can talk about that if we want to. The problem with that is it ends up being a distraction from the larger issue because we're talking about 0.00001%.
Right.
Or something goofy like that, percentage of abortions that what we're talking about. And that's not the main issue. I would say in that scenario, we're talking about in a truly save this life or save this life scenario. But aside from that, I think it'd be hard-pressed for a consistent Christian to make any other case. I think it'd be hard-pressed. But again, I think what we need to emphasize is this. It is not an act, and we really probably don't do a good enough job of this. It is not an unsavable or unredeemable sin. It's just the same as the rest of us. We're just calling a spade, but it's literally the same as the rest of us, as our gossiping tongues, as our lustful eyes, as our
hating somebody,
our hate, our lying lips, so on and so forth. It's the same thing, and there is redemption and forgiveness in that, just like there is anything else.
Yeah, and I think that's an incredible point because the Bible says you've been told that murder is wrong, but I tell you that if you even hate another brother in your heart, then you've murdered them, and you've killed them.
Yeah,
bro. I've hated. I've not just strongly disliked. I have not been not a fan of. I have hated, like actively hated. I have killed somebody the same way. That's what I'm saying. Like, we just have to argue the fact that, yes, it is a sin. Yes, it is a sin. And here's something else, man, because it can be seen as super heartless. And dang, if I wasn't just so sure, I'd say, like, yeah, dude, biblical stance is super heartless on this. But here it is. A lot of people will say, back to that point of, man, I don't want to look at my abuser in the eyes of my child. Like, that sucks. That's hard because I did not want a baby. I was planning on this job. I was in college. I was doing this.
Right.
I didn't even have a boyfriend or whatever. And then you were raped and you got pregnant with that abuser's child. And I, Hunter, would look you in the eyes and say, you have no right to abort that child. You have no authority that you can use in heaven or on earth to kill somebody else. And that's hard. It's like, man, right, but I didn't ask her. I didn't do this. I know that sucks. And I know that there are going to be issues. But here's something that your brother taught me, man, that he said, and it's never left me. He said, say that you are, I am paraphrasing and making my own story out of this because I don't remember how he said it. I remembered the message. Say that you are 16, you have a car, and now your chore is to go do the grocery shopping. So you need to take inventory of what we are running low on, and when it comes time to go to the store, you go up and ask for the amount of money that you'll need for the items that you buy, right? So you decipher that in 1 week, you will need to go to the store and grab milk, bread, cereal, whatever. 1 week from now, that's when you'll have to do it. Would your father and your mother give you the money for that right then? Or would they give you the money for it when you go to the store?
When you go to the store.
Yeah. Right. So in the same way, when does God give you your peace and when does God give you your faith? When you need it? Or weeks and months before?
When you need it.
So that's what I'm saying. It's like, yeah, man, that's hard. But there's a reason we call it the peace of God that surpasses all understanding. There's a reason we say God is the provider and that God gives us the desire to serve him. That's Philippians 2. God grants us, in Ephesians, it says the gift of God, faith, that God gives us faith. He grants us faith, right? So when we say, yeah, man, this is going to be hard. I'm going to have to deal with this. I'm going to have to deal with this. Like, heck yeah, you are. You are going to deal with it. But God is the provider. God will clothe you. He will make sure that you are taken care of. And he will, because he is a personal God who cares, he will give you peace and joy. And he is able to grant you love. And that's what's crazy. And I think of Hebrews 4:15, for we do not have a high priest who is unable to sympathize with our weaknesses, but one who is tried in every way that we are, and yet is without sin.
Yep.
Right? This is a personal God, a God who understands, a God who cares about those little things. And that's not even a little thing, but you know what I mean? More on the grander scope of, providing and raising a child, just those little moments of when you see he has the nose of the guy who did that. Like he looks like that, and that hurt or that fear or that pain or whatever. Do you have faith in God or do you not? And unfortunately, that's super cold, and that's super like coming from a dude who will never be pregnant ever, and will never go through that. I know it sounds that way, but in reality, do you have faith that God can provide peace beyond your current understanding? And if you do, then what right have you to say that is too much for me? Therefore, and unfortunately, that is convenience. I'm going to kill this kid because I cannot handle that. Shoot, I couldn't handle that. Good thing that I have faith that God will provide. Right?
Yeah. Well said, man.
Yeah.
Yep.
Thank you, man.
Yep. That's good.
Well, on that note, guys, great podcast. Have any questions? Have anything you liked? Have anything you didn't like? Have anything that you want us to cover that we did not cover? Comment on our video below on YouTube. You can also find us on Instagram, Listen Point Taken. Shoot us a DM. Hit us in the comments. You can email us any types of questions or feedback right here, listenpointtaken@gmail.com. Be sure and let us know what you think. Be sure and let us know any topics you want us to discuss or about this certain position, anything we said or didn't say that you wanted us to say or didn't like that we said. But apart from that, guys, we will see you next week.
Deuces.